Jay, Tom?
Well, I'll talk to, all of them.
Jay, had the last drawings for the way the driveway was
Well,
going
that's
to
what I
be
was
redrawn.
thinking too. I can't remember how
whether
that-
it's going to be in the
okay.
way of that. So he'd be a good person to bring it forward. Talk about it on the 10th also. All right, anything else? Legal resources committee? You mentioned you were going to talk to...
It's coming this week. Mr. Jared Quattrine, yes.
This is about the.
Yeah.
Cupola?
No, this is about the windows.
Oh, the windows.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that was Jared's coming for the windows this week?
Yes, yep.
That's okay.
Yes. Yep, so far so good.
Community resources committee?
I don't have too much. I'm going to the RCLS breakfast this week. Maybe I'll have more to talk about next month. There hasn't been much going. We have to pick the date for the information meeting, and that's kind of a community resources-ish thing, I suppose, or at least like the Facebook and getting all those people and informing them, but I don't have anything else.
Okay. Are we going to talk about that, or can we talk about that now?
Sure.
So we're talking about when we wanted to plan the next information session at the senior center.
If you remember, we had discussed it last month, and I was going to set up a meeting, but it got a little difficult because we wanted to make sure there was adequate time elapsed between going before the planning board and then actually having our internal public information. So after I spoke with a few people, I thought it'd be better just to wait, give a little more time, and then even Paul said it'd probably be better to have it, late in either October sometime. So I think by now even enough time has probably elapsed that we could set something up for the next, or whatever you feel is appropriate, and where we think would be a time that most people would be available.
So we don't have to wait till the planning board. Do you approve it? Does it come to?
Well, the planning board is going to have a public hearing. So my concern was that the two would overlap or be repetitive.
Okay.
So ineffective, therefore. The planning board has to occur. And so, let's see.
I was going to say, do we know yet when that will be, that actual?
So September, library will not be at the board meeting next week. So library will probably be at planning board October, right?
Possibly November.
And so they need 30 days to schedule, so it sounds like it might be November for the planning board public hearing. It would be November or December, I'm thinking, so I'd probably be good to work around that and not be too close to it.
It'd be better to work after that.
Okay. So we.
Unless you thought you wanted to have it sooner.
No, that's fine.
Because
Yeah.
there may be changes from that.
How soon would they vote after the hearing?
It depends how complete the plans are. The plans don't have to be totally complete in order to have the public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is for the public to come and raise any concerns or issues. And I kind of don't think there's going to be too many, but that easement situation will come up because one of the people the planning board is going to ask the library to consult with would be the fire company. And they may be the ones that'll raise the issue about another entrance, an emergency thing. It's such a unique situation to have the library in the middle of a park. I don't think any of us have really seen that before. And the park, there's you know, a move afoot to step up the use of the park and also to demolish the school. So there's some unknown there. I understand the dog park is ready to open, the fence is up, and you're ready to start seeing how much traffic is gonna be going in and out of that road. So a lot depends on the fire company, what they're saying about their trucks. We don't always listen to them, you know, because they have huge trucks and they wanna be able to turn around, and sometimes that's just impossible, that they would have to go up on the grass or, you know. Then there's the issue of construction, the use of the road during construction of the library. And that's where I guess the issue came up with using the, is it the Masons that are using next door?
Yeah, I guess it is, I thought it was the VFW, but.
Yeah, maybe it was the
Okay, but
VFW
that's
now,
right,
that,
right.
and they, may let that entrance be used for construction, and that would be great, you know. So, I think it's up to you as far as whether or not the planning board approval, if you want it to be in place before you have your informational meeting. What's the purpose of your informational meeting?
Really just deliver information to the public.
Yeah, an
But
update,
information on what we're gonna do.
yeah.
Because
Which might
we
be
won't know until
influenced by.
Yeah.
And we've been getting queries, that's really why.
Sure, yeah, I think it's, you know, a good answer to just say that we're working out issues with the planning board right now. I think the rec commission is gonna have a lot of comments when you have the joint meeting, and whether or not their wish list is actually doable, you know, that's another thing, cause I think they want you to do a lot of things that may be, not in line with what the mission of the library is.
I don't think we can schedule that, I think it's too
Too
soon.
soon.
Yeah, it sounds like we should do it in the spring. But it sounds like we should, well, this is for our informational meeting, so it'll be after the planning board, but the planning board meeting is gonna have an impact on this chicken and egg thing, because we're working with the architect, we're working towards a document that's going to be the construction document, that has every detail in it. But it sounds like you don't need that for the village planning board, it would just be, you know, it doesn't need to be completely fleshed out, because some of that is going to be potentially impacted by the planning board, so.
But there were informal things brought up at the last planning board that our engineer took note of.
Mhm.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, I think what the approval is gonna look like will be a preliminary approval with conditions. And the conditions will be all of those fine points that you're talking about. And in the approval, you'll see, there may be, say, you know, 6 or 7 conditions. And that's when they'll be able to sign off on your final approval. But I think it's okay to have your public information meeting once you have the preliminary approval, because basically you're agreeing to do X, Y, Z, you know, whatever it happens to be. Maybe you don't have the landscape plan completely drawn, or you're waiting for the lawyers to sign off on the easement. You're waiting for the fire company report, or you're waiting for the architect review, you know, because you're in the design district, and you're waiting for SHPO. Things like that may be the conditions of the approval.
Make a comment. If this is gonna in fact slide off for several months, I would strongly urge us to make sure that we're using the library website
Right,
and our
sure.
Facebook pages
Yeah.
to give as much information as we can. Cause I think we agreed, we need to keep talking to the community about what's going on.
thing I think of with another entrance, the construction vehicles would be going into the construction site. So if you came in, if you were to say that the Mason's entrance was for the construction vehicles, they would all be crossing the regular.
Yes, they are,
So that
yeah.
may not be something that would work out here.
I think what Paul said was that all the stuff coming in on the trucks is gonna be spread out where the geothermal field is.
Right.
So in other words, those trucks would come in and immediately turn right,
Yeah.
and that's where there would be a temporary driveway. And they would go over there and unload, turn around, and then come back. So they're only gonna be using a small section of that driveway as they enter and exit the
Right.
construction site itself. So I'm not really sure
So
that that's gonna be an issue, as far as interfering with the use of the park.
The Masons might be able to, that entrance may be the general usage,
For general
Yeah.
usage.
whereas the construction would be,
Well, what
the
I'm saying
original.
is I don't think that even if just because the truck is pulling in that entrance, it's going to immediately, within 30 feet or so of entering the property, it's gonna turn right and go into that part of the property. I don't see how it's gonna hold up usage of the entrance for other cars.
Gonna have, in and out though, you know, they have to get out also, and, the way 207 is, you've seen it at 10 of 9 now,
Mhm.
that school has started.
Right, it's horrible.
So they'll be stacking, within the road of the park to try to get out
Mhm.
because of the cars at the traffic light.
Right.
So,
If
yeah.
Jay,
uh,
also if Jay can kind of spec out some of these questions in terms of the construction. If you're doing a construction project, you need the path that the truck's gonna take. You need, turning around, you mentioned about fire trucks, but also in terms of the trucks, particularly in
Right.
terms of,
Yeah.
flatbed trucks.
How many trips?
And area to distribute the materials. So if Jay and Paul, I don't know if Paul needs to be interested involved in that, but if Jay thinks they can consider some of that. Because if it does work out that we do need another curb cut and we need to take it up with the state, then we have a curb cut, and then we can actually have a second entrance for emergency vehicles that can be gated until such time that we need it, you know. So it will be closed after construction is completed, but still there for use, you know.
And most times when they build a building, they don't have 5 acres to spread out their stuff. I mean, this is, from the builder's perspective, this is heaven. They've got that whole thing just sitting there open to be used by their, and then when it's all finished, the landscaper will come in and deal with the damage.
Yeah, particularly with so part of that question is gonna be how do the wells figure into that?
So he said that, we asked that question, and he said that once they do the drilling, it's all down below, everything's below, and there's no issues. They can come right on top
Having
of
trucks,
and
having
that
trucks over,
thing
yeah.
and go.
some of the property is wet, some of it is, and then you have the foundation where the old mansion was, too, you know, as far as spreading materials out.
I don't
that's
think our
not ours.
property- our property doesn't
It's
go
not
down.
yours,
not
but
ours.
do you anticipate that
No, we're
some
not
of the
gonna go on our
construction
property.
may spill out into other parts of the park? Not at all?
No,
Okay,
we
yeah.
Look to have
Um,
our area cordoned off.
Cordoned off,
Yeah.
fenced,
Yes.
probably, yeah.
Right. Yeah, for safety as
So,
well,
yeah,
but
so,
particularly that'll
yeah.
restrict where
Um,
the.
Another suggestion that I heard was, possibly using the gate, the old entrance, off of Craigville as a temporary public entrance, while the construction is going on, because you used to be able to drive vehicles on there.
Right.
You know, when they redid the path and the landscaping, it's not as wide, but it did accommodate, vehicles at one time. So that was a suggestion, I don't know,
Joint rec
um,
discussion.
as a possibility, you know, again, you have the stacking of the cars on Craigville at rush hour, because there's a light there, so you'd have to figure that out, but that is a possibility.
Alright, so we're still
Mm.
working towards a meeting of the major players. The fire company may or not be included in that. Maybe you can reach out to the fire company to see, or if Jay can, or if there's something in terms of their part or not. But just be sure that everybody is included and just as a preliminary meeting to talk about a bunch of these things. resolved at the meeting, but, I mean, talking about traffic patterns, talking about the, water, water pipes, water and sewage, building demolition of the current school building is gonna be important, because we want that to occur before our building goes up.
I
It's
don't
not,
think that's gonna occur anytime soon.
Okay,
No,
well, then-
it's, the supervisor told me the other day, they have no money to do that, so
No
it's
money
gonna
to
be a
do that, so-
while.
Of course, if
So
Legoland
while
were
it
to
would
move to
be
Goshen, they'd have
concern.
$1.5 million a year to put towards that.
So, that's a concern.
We
now.
won't go there.
And then, use of the VFW or, Masonic, building drive there.
It might be that easy.
To use that one way or another, yeah.
Yeah.
To use, I think you mentioned, to use it as the entrance to the park while
Yeah,
construction, while
yeah.
the current entrance is used for construction. So that might be another way we can get them to sign off on it.
Who's Mason? But we don't talk about such things.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee, by the way, thank you. It's helpful.
My pleasure.
Mhm.
Okay.
Still on committee reports, Human Resource Committee, we don't have anything?
None?
None.
Sunshine Committee?
Sunshine Committee's doing well, and I have $50 for Jim.
Left over.
That was from, an out-of-pocket transaction
Yeah,
that
that was
he
the
had.
retirement dinner. The board made a contribution.
Yes.
Joy.
Thank you.
That's the only Sunshine business I have.
Okay. And just to backtrack, I think the net on the discussion about community resources to actually maintain the website to use that as the primary delivery for information.
You know what I think I was thinking about? What I'll probably do, I'll use the bi-monthly e-newsletter. I'll have a section and I'll come up with something clever, to just building news, but it will be every 2 weeks it'll
Yeah,
hit
'cause that goes
something
to
in there,
Bob.
right. I think that'll help.
I didn't understand that,
Oh, we just jumped back to community resources.
Because in
Sorry.
the discussion about the new building, and talking about the committee, scheduling an information session, that we're gonna be putting off until next year, it sounds like, until after the new year, we would just use the website and the newsletter
Okay.
for delivery of,
I
information.
got you now, thank you.
And, Friends Committee.
Well, as was mentioned earlier, the Antiques Appraisal, October 2nd. And then the other thing in October is the Winter of the Witch film showing Friday, October 28th. We wanted the 29th, but the building, the room is not available at St. James on the 29th. So it's Friday, October 28th, from 6 to 8 on the film Winter of the Witch.
Has that date been changed, Jim? Is that a change of date?
Originally, like 6 months ago, we thought we had the 29th.
The flyer that you sent out recently was good?
We haven't done a flyer on the Winter of the Witch.
Oh, no, I'm sorry,
The newsletter blurb.
no, I can't see.
The newsletter had it accurately.
Right.
But the antiques appraisal is
That's the
That's-
second, that's no change in that.
no change in that, okay, thank you.
That's all. And then there's a Friends meeting, Tuesday, the 29th, is it?
27th?
7th, I saw it.
That's right,
27th.
27th. And the Historical Committee may, probably is meeting, but I missed the meeting, so I'm not sure. Bill says it's the Monday, the night before.
26th, right.
26th. The Historical Committee of Friends.
Okay. On to unfinished business, public information meeting day, we discussed that. Any other unfinished business?
Just to get in my head, we're still trying to go to bid in February. if the planning board gives us preliminary approval as late as December, are we gonna, will that give the architects enough time to finalize the plan to go to bid?
Good question, I'd have to research that.
But most of what the planning board would have changes made would be on the
Site,
site, not the building
per
itself.
se, right.
So that's something we can discuss with Paul on October 10th, and work towards getting an updated timeline, which includes that. Okay. New business. We have a motion, somebody's gonna need to make this motion. What we're doing is, Ben Gailey is, we had a resolution on June 13th that Ben Gailey was going to be used exclusively for the Salesian project, in relation to Salesian project, not anything just on the site itself, but also financial things, anything legal, anything that we have used him for since, in terms of the school district and everything else, but everything related to the Salesian project. We're going to be looking for a motion to expand his uses because we don't want to limit it to the Salesian project. We're going to use it for general result also. So I'm just going to read the June 13th resolution just to give an idea of what we did resolve on that time is to the library will continue to retain a legal service of Robert Fink, attorney at law, for legal services. Second was to resolve that the library use Norton and Christensen law offices as a backup to Robert Fink in cases where specialized legal expertise is needed. And Ben Gailey was to use for legal expertise in relation to the Goshen Central School District and to include a project known as the Salesian Project. And he was actually involved in Washington bills going on at the time, right? So that's why we selected him for those. So the change is going to be resolved that the library use the resources of the law firm of Jacobowitz and Gubitz, LLP, attorney Ben Gailey, for their legal expertise in relation to, but not limited to, the Goshen Central School District, and to include the project known as the Salesian Project. So we just put that one phrase in so that
it's a little more flexible.
yeah. Somebody can make that motion. Jim will make the motion. Somebody second. Discussion, concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
So we have two members of RCLS here to defend their budget, right?
Got a problem?
This is outrageous. This is outrageous. I've never seen such numbers.
You will note that it's less than 1% different from the previous year.
And there's some crib notes on there too. One of the highlights is that the library costs are actually going down this year because the state funding has increased due to the not lobbying, but but the
lobbying efforts.
the efforts for Nyla. So they got an additional $7 million or something like that.
I don't remember the number, but
so some of it trickled down to
for the first
service
time.
costs.
Yeah.
So there'll be savings this year. Do you have the
I think it's 1,500 this year
versus?
it's about 500 less than last year. And I think it started at 3,000 the first year, and it's been steadily declining since then. So now we're down to about 1,500, 2,000 last year.
So we can put it off until as late as December 2nd, which is 2 more meetings, or we can vote tonight to approve.
They're really fascinated. RCS is holding a series of talks on the budget, how they arrived at numbers they arrived at various libraries.
could share electronic copies too, Bernie. Yeah.
Right, yeah, if we do put it off for a month, it gives us a chance to share electronic
Okay.
copies to everybody, and that way everybody can.
I hadn't seen it yet either.
Okay. Yeah, it was sent out, I think, the top sheet explicitly says it was sent out to the director and the president. So, okay, so we're gonna table that for future review. Okay, on to the fundraising committee guidance. So Bill Troy is here, he's gonna, he's chairing our committee. Do you wanna, I can start, I mean, I think what we need to do as trustees is to actually come up with some significant guidance in terms of dollar amounts and possibly even how we're going to go about it. You know, we can do some now and do some later, but basically to give an idea of the scope that we want the fundraising to encompass. And this is going to be for additional funds to achieve higher goals than what are currently set for the building project.
Like the furniture.
Like furniture, yeah.
Improvement.
That was the main
That's-
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's one thing,
Amenities.
the way I see it, that's one
Yeah,
thing.
various amenities. I mean, I'll give you an example. In my office, we use a particular model of chair in all the conference rooms. Steelcase is the brand, and it's got wheels on it. It's very comfortable. They're very mobile. They're very sturdy. We've never had a problem with them. So that might be a chair that we could pick. They're economical as well. So that might be a chair that we can use throughout the library. Or if we get additional funding, we can have improved chairs,
Yeah.
things like that. So.
Well, I seem to remember, we taking 300,000, was it, out of the capital fund, and are we looking at raising upwards of that amount? 300,000?
I'm looking at raising what we need. And 300 is the number kind of was rattling around. But as I said, 300 is harder to raise than 200. That's why I wanted to get a listing of the furniture, I assume there's computers, equipment, other equipment, things like that. That's one category. The other one, Keith, is the bricks, the tiles, the plaques, the dedicated benches, that kind of stuff. Not strictly furniture, but naming opportunities. But if we could get our arms wrapped around that, then everything else starts to shake out, I think. So that's the key thing for me. The next thing, and this ties into our discussion about when we're going to do the information thing, because I thought that this group had decided at the last meeting that we would roll out a public announcement about the campaign at the information meeting. But now it sounds like that's not going to happen until after the first of the year. So I'm just a little concerned. I don't want to delay too long on this. But anyway, we need a start date and we need a completion date. I think we shouldn't just leave it open-ended. We should say, if we're going to do it in 6 months or 9 months or whatever it is, but say, that's it. Because then, we can use a little bit of pressure, so to speak,
Sure.
as we start to get to the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, as much as, we can get down in black and white, that would be really helpful to the committee.
Somebody shared a list of the different things we might have for naming
Yep.
and,
Yeah, I have a few of those, in fact. We have Washington Mills.
right.
We've been down to Wisner, so we know what they did. There's a lot of good stuff around. And maybe you might be able to help. Wisner in particular had this thing with all personalized tiles that an artist did for individuals who had donated significant funds. Beautiful thing, and I got a note, Megan, you had sent me also something on that kind of a thing at another library. But we may need help there. We may need help with like a logo and things like that. So I have a left brain, so I don't do right brain stuff.
Well, as far as the kickoff, you can use the internet, the website, right, and flyers, written flyers.
Yeah.
For your kickoff, it doesn't absolutely have to be the meeting if you're anxious to get started.
Yeah, and then
Um,
news articles.
Yeah,
news
yeah, I wanna
articles,
get Tom Leak involved and whatnot in the record.
But that doesn't preclude what you need from the board.
Oh,
though.
absolutely.
Right,
No, we still
Right.
need the nuts and bolts
Yeah.
to do anything,
yeah.
so.
So,
Do we wanna have like some kind of specific event to kick this off?
Well, I would prefer that. I mean, you're right, internet and newspaper and whatnot, but I'd like to have something that draws public attention other than just electronics or a paper that people may or may not read. I mean, a lot of people don't even read newspapers anymore.
you can have a press conference like Chuck Schumer does and have 3 people there, but make it seem like
Never
there's
met a
100
camera he
people.
didn't like, right? Yes, we could do that.
I'll come.
What, so why don't we kick that around anyway? Because if we could have something, I think,
Okay.
now, the only downside to that is would people then expect information?
You have to have the information.
Well, I mean
You
about the
do.
project.
No, about you need the,
Yeah.
you need the board to tell you
So-
what, like what furnishings.
No, I mean,
Um,
does that get us back into the information meeting kind of thing where questions about the project itself, not the
Oh.
furniture, but the other half of the
I see.
information thing?
Yeah.
So we'd have to play it delicately, but I'm sure there's a way to do this.
Can we, one thing that has been cropping up a little bit, is, at one point we had 2 meetings a month. We had the working session, mid-month, or where it fell, and then we had the actual general board meeting.
Let's do it.
Is that, fine, that we can?
I think we have to.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so then can we pick a date right now to have a working session for this topic in particular?
2 weeks out? I don't know. Sure.
We generally do it like 2 weeks from the board meeting.
2 weeks ago, so somebody just said there's a meeting on the 26th of something else?
That's the Historical Society.
So that conflicts with that. Or is that during the day, or is that any?
It's,
evenings?
it's 7 o'clock.
Right.
I could have Mary cover for me at that meeting.
Okay, and we can also schedule, or how early
Can we do it at
schedule a meeting?
6?
Are you looking at me?
Oh, yeah, you're
Looking at
work
Karen.
schedule, yeah.
No, I could probably make any night
Okay,
at this time.
alright, so,
It's also a village board meeting and that night, just saying.
and they're at 7:30?
I have it listed as 7.
Village board is 7.
7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I have it as.
Alright,
What about 6 then?
so it's, 6 o'clock?
6 on the 26th?
A work session,
Yeah.
At what point in the plan, does the architect do all of the furnishings, or has he done that? Like all the little nooks and crannies with the reading spaces, is that all done?
We discussed things, but we haven't specified any, I
I
think,
think
right?
we have it down space-wise.
Yeah, space-wise, just the square footage and the shape of the room itself. So, yeah, we haven't discussed anything.
Cause you would need a little more detail, right, of the furnishings, in order to have the information that this
Yeah.
committee would need. Because people are gonna wanna grab onto, they're actually probably gonna wanna see an interior plan, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I
just to
think
help in the thought
Oh.
process, I believe that Paul Mays had said that as it goes further, he's actually gonna have community input on the furnishings and things. Am I right?
Yeah, And
So he's
especially the
like, even
teen.
almost like charrettes, you know, again,
and a lot of
get
that's
people involved.
gotta happen before the final construction documents, before it goes to bid, because those are some of the items that are going to, I think, be included in the construction documents, quite possibly, so.
The furnishings
Yeah.
that doesn't have to be put out for bid with the
Not,
construction.
not during construction,
Okay.
doesn't have to
We
be.
have
Alright,
to
so
know
just
that.
confirm that with him, and then we have more.
He
detail
has
on those.
ideas too, he has, you know.
But some of it does dovetail, because if you're gonna design a room around particular furniture, the room has gotta be, the actual construction of the room's gotta conform to that, so.
Yeah, and
It
I
would
think
help to have a larger plan.
I think he's shown suggestions on some furnishings.
Yeah.
If you were to go in Wisner, okay, on the first floor, you would see 3 reading areas. So each one has a table and a few chairs, right? So that would be on the list of what, or you have money
Right.
for the table and chairs, but you want to upgrade the quality, right? So
That's exactly what I
Uh,
was gonna bring up.
yeah,
Personally,
um,
I'd like to see Class A and Class B,
Right.
and see what the monetary difference is.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's the difference we're talking about in terms of what we're seeing in the
Right.
budget, yeah.
So in other words, he hasn't designed spaces that have nothing, no chairs, right? They all have chairs, they may
Sure.
be not the best chairs. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and
And,
meeting rooms have a particular, yeah.
yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, and you just have stuff in mind because the meeting rooms chairs are going to stack
yeah,
onto carts that move into a closet, so he has seen these, and we've seen them as well at Nyla and other things too, so. Okay, alright, so then, 26th, 6 o'clock?
I just had one input on that, the meeting date, will Norma be back? And did we wanna wait for Norma for that work session? Or will you still want to go ahead with September 26th?
I don't know when she's coming back.
Yeah, I don't remember what day. So let's leave it like
I
this
think
for
we
now.
have to move ahead.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have-
Just wanted to mention that for you.
Yeah. And there'll be other meetings as well. This is to kick off and to actually get the bigger picture on what's required for the fundraiser.
So what are some of the other topics we're gonna discuss at this work session? I have maybe donation tiles, something along that line. A logo, naming opportunities, fundraising events / presentation, details on furnishings. Sure.
Another thing that I'm interested in is whether, as part of the donation, we'll be accepting items to go in the history room. Would that be considered a donation?
Not
donations
for the
with the library.
purposes of the committee, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then we take that off the table. It was just,
Yeah, part of the problem with that, which here and other libraries have found is as soon as you're accepting, old items, if you will, you have to insure those items
okay,
while they're here, and, the insurance on these items can be a lot more costly.
okay,
You know, I've seen that other libraries have dealt with that.
right, okay. Easily done,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I'm hanging it out. Okay, all right. Thanks. Okay, so, well, we could also have an agenda, grow the agenda as the
Of course.
next 2 weeks progress, yeah, so. Send all your ideas to Matt. Yeah, Matt and, or Bill will be the focal point. Okay. Proposed items for next month's meeting, we're there already. So we're gonna talk about the RCLS budget approval for one.
We'll send it out electronic.
And we'll talk about the working session. And follow up with that.
We're talking about the agenda for October, right?
Yeah, this is the agenda for the October.
Is it the December meeting where we are presenting the budget proposal from? Yeah, so we would think. get right, since December, isn't it? And then we vote on it in January.
Yeah, December, January, we'd start.
So there's appointments, we have to appoint people for the budget committee.
Right.
A little early.
Good thinking. Okay. And it'll be right after the capital project meeting, so we can discuss that.
And I know Paul, by the way, Paul and Megan will be helpful with fundraising as well. They've done it, and I know Megan will be especially helpful with discussions about interior design, tiers, let's call them, and what those numbers would be, the differences, and, as far as the decision making goes.
Good.
There is a kind of an elephant in the room question. We haven't referred to it in a while. But we told the community before the vote, when they asked what's gonna happen to this building, that we said we don't know. That there are some people on the board that wanna sell it. There's some people on the board that don't wanna sell it. And we would ultimately let the community decide.
I don't think there's any question about selling.
So that's
I don't
one-
think there's any option but to sell it.
Yeah.
This is to reduce the debt.
We
This is not-
we did not say that to the community. We said that there were some mixed feelings. I think we have an option. So one option is to keep it and have this be the historical society. As in towns like Warwick, we have a dedicated building that's a historical society. I'm not saying we should do that. I'm
It's
saying
not
that
budget.
that is an option.
Well,
And the question that I'm asking is, what is the mechanism for trying to explore more than one option other than simply, oh, we're selling it, end of discussion?
well, I think it's easy enough to just get a budget together of how much it costs to heat and take care of the other utilities, electricity, for this building. To see what the cost would be that we would have to increase our budget by, that our patrons would have to, their taxes would have to be raised just to have this as a separate. I mean, we just designed a building that would house our historical society there. We have a section of it for that purpose.
Any purpose for
I
that.
mean, I don't think there's an option on backtracking on
So
that part.
I think what we can do is we can actually talk about this at the October meeting as well. We can add that to the agenda for that. But I believe between now and then, some of the costs, our staff is our largest expense, okay? We know what it costs to run this building in terms of utilities and maintenance. And the maintenance will, it'll go up, it'll go down over the years, but the bigger number is going to be what this affords the taxpayers on the tax rolls. And I think, it depends on how much we sell it for, it depends on how much it's appraised for at the time.
I think people are gonna be upset if we don't sell it.
If we don't sell it.
If we have worked towards setting up the historical society by additional square footage, additional costs, putting the plans together and all that, to only backtrack and say, oh no, we're gonna keep that space for some other reason, and we're gonna keep this building. Nobody said that. We
Okay.
would have to pay for both.
But another issue is, the reason why we don't have a plan right now is because we can't have a plan until we have a building to move into.
Yeah.
Whatever happens is going to be disconnected from then, or disconnected until now. They are two separate things. What do we do with this building happens after we're moved out of it. We're not gonna say, sell it to a lawyer. I mean, ideally, we would think that somebody who wants to be on Lawyer's Row would buy this if they wanted to. But we're not gonna say, okay, we're gonna sell it to you and we'll be out of here in September of whatever year, 2018, okay? And then not make that target date for whatever reason at the construction sites. So that's why it needs to be a separate issue, and it can still be a separate issue. But it's something that we can talk about further at the next meeting.
It would be nice to know what it would cost to maintain this building when the building is only open in 2 or 3 days, because the Historical Society is never open 7 days a week, the where library is. It was much more limited hours, you probably wouldn't even use the lower level, so the electricity bill would be probably half of what it is right now. And the heat would be way down again, because you're heating it to this temperature all the time. I don't know if it's possible to come up with some sort of an estimate of what the utilities would be.
We fooled around with it a little bit, but we could try again to get some kind of a ballpark.
And then we get an appraisal to see how much we would get to reduce
We do
the
need a
debt.
commercial appraisal.
So-
Right, we did that once before, on that building, the Trinity building.
I think you have one.
We hired an appraiser.
One
I think
thing
things
though
have
is,
changed since that time.
I don't know, I believe we was discussed in the past that we can't use the proceeds of this building to reduce the bond debt. That is not the way the bond operates,
My.
because that's not the way the bond operates.
Because
Because the
Oh,
bond
remember
is
that.
set up to be a 30-year bond and needs to last that long. It's not like a mortgage on your house. It's set up as an investment policy, and that's why
Well,
it
what
has
we
to
could do
extend out.
is not have it tan every summer.
Yeah.
We'd have enough money so that we wouldn't have to always
That's
go to
what
the
it
school
is.
district and say, we're gonna run out of money and this.
In the last year of the bond, we pay it off with the balance.
Well, it'll be 30 years from now, so. We might still be on the board, all of us.
Well, we don't know what is possible. It's
Right.
premature to say,
Okay.
just saying.
Okay, so that's on the agenda for, and that's Columbus Day, right? We're gonna be meeting on Columbus Day.
Library will be open
Library will open, okay.
for the Monday holiday.
Okay, anything else for the next agenda?
That's quite enough.
Enough to get us
That's all
going?
right.
All right, good. Privilege of the floor? No, not like the any. And, we don't have a projected question? Okay. So we need a motion to adjourn? Emily?
Emily?
Everybody wants to.
Thank you.
Thank you.